So what do you do in terms of steps in the literature review process? I'm sure you all say, well, you go to the library, you go to the indexes, and you start searching your brains out. No. So before you start your literature review, your first step is to create an EndNote library. And I'm going to show you how to do that. Okay. So this week, maybe today, maybe right after class, you're going to run to a lab and do this. That would be great. You're going to go to Start, Programs, EndNote. It's one of the ones they pulled out, which is good. When it's hidden in a folder, it's awful. Then you go to EndNote Program with that little brown and black square, which you will become very familiar with. You click on it, and you're going to come to a screen like this. And you have three options. Learn about EndNote, create a new library, or open an existing library. The first time you come in here, you're going to click on Create a New Library. The next time, you're going to open an existing library. Simple as that. So I'm going to create a new library. This is what you guys are going to do. I clicked on Create a New Library, and basically it went to My Documents on this computer. And you guys don't want to save anything on the computer you're on. Where do you want to save it? P drive. Okay. So the other thing I want to note is it's not at the right drive. I'm going to have to get to the right drive. And the second thing is it's called My EndNote Library. And I don't really like that title, so I probably will change the title. So I'm going to go to P drive, QAC, QAC 201, Students. And then you guys would go into your section and find your own folder. But my folder is not in a section. It's right here. So I'm going to put it there. And I don't like EndNote Library. I'm going to decide I'm going to rename it. So I'm going to call it, my main topic is nicotine dependence. Okay, so that's what I want to call it. And I say, okay, so you're all going to do that, like in the next 24 hours. Okay. Now what I have is an empty library. And for now, that's absolutely all I need. So I'm going to close it. That's all I needed to do. I now have a library. It now exists on my P drive. And now when I go to do my literature review and I want to download the articles that I'm going to get and read, it's all ready. Did I miss anything? I should mention too, Kendall Hobbs is here. He's a reference librarian who's going to help us if we forget anything or if he needs to add anything. So I want to hear what kinds of indexes you guys have searched before. We're going to learn about Science Citation Index and PsycInfo just because all the data sets we have, that pretty much hits everything you need. So here's the first rule of thumb for this particular class I want to teach you. I am looking at the association between two things. So I don't need to mess around with keywords. Keywords are pretty general, right? They'll get you into things. We want literally to find articles that I want to find articles that look at the association between smoking and nicotine dependence. That's it. I want to look at the association between those two things. I want those two things in my title. Okay? I don't want it in my abstract or maybe somewhere in the keywords or whatever. You're going to waste a lot of your time. You want it in your title. So I'm going to say nicotine dependence. Oh, I spelled that wrong. Sorry. And smoking. I don't like to type with so much pressure. All right, go to title. Okay, and then search. Now, I'll tell you how to limit your search in a moment, but actually it comes up with a certain number of hits that I think are a reasonable number of hits, so I want to mention it to you. Okay, so I've come up with 167 hits. You see that right there? Move my mouse. Yes, okay. And actually, one other thing I want to do, how do I get it to go to 50 per screen? Is that somewhere? Is that down here? Oh, here it is. Okay. I don't want to see 10 per page. I want to see the maximum per page, which is 50. That's a good idea to start with. Okay. Now I'm going to start reading the titles, you guys. Okay. Yes, you want to read abstracts and find out what but you can rule out most of the articles that you don't need to read from reading just the title. And I would say it would be worth your time to read 167 titles. I mean, it's not going to take you that long. As I read through the titles, I learned a lot about what I don't want, which is very helpful. You want to know about what you don't want. And I learned about what I do want as well. So a lot of what I found, remember, I just wanted articles that look at the association between smoking and nicotine dependence. And as you see, the first one is Genetic Epidemiology of Smoking Behavior and Nicotine Dependence. I'm not doing genetic epidemiology, and I'm not doing genetic work, and I don't have any genetic data, so it's a pretty surefire guess that I do not want that article. This is stuff like failure of hospital employees to comply with smoke-free policies. I'm not dealing with policy. I'm not dealing with cessation efforts. If you recall, my interest is actually kids who are just experimenting with smoking. So smoking cessation is way out of the range of what I'm doing. Maternal smoking in pregnancy, that's not what I'm interested in. So it's very easy to read the titles and know that's not where you're going, okay? Now, I move down here. I finally find one at number 11 here. Yay! What this title is linking quantity and frequency profiles of cigarette smoking to the presence of nicotine dependence. That's exactly it. I want to know how quantity and frequency links to nicotine dependence. This is a definite hit. So the next thing I probably want to do, well, it's not the next thing. I'm going to click there, actually. How do you get to the, without going to find it, how do you get to the abstract? Just click it?
You click the title.
Oh, why it's not working? Oh, okay, click the title. Maybe that's the next thing I'll do. Oh, there it is. Okay. So if I like that title is definitely a sure shot. So I may or may not read that abstract at that moment. I may wait to get the article till I read the abstract. That's definitely. But a lot of titles, you'll say, that might be what I'm looking for, but I'm not sure. Now you want to move down to read the abstract. You don't want to read every abstract. It's only if you have a question about whether or not you want that paper. At this point, do you want to read the abstract and determine whether this might be something that is good background for the question that you're asking. Okay? Okay. Next. Okay, so that was that. Okay, so that was 11. I definitely want that. That's fabulous. Let me click it again because I went away from it. I don't understand why they do that. That happens to me all the time. They put, once I check it and I go to another screen, it puts a check below it, but it doesn't treat it as checked anymore. I mean, it treats it there because I can see it, but any thoughts?
It's in a marked record file, so it's been marked.
Okay.
And when you get to the next step, it has an effect on which option you use.
So I'm going to skip through this and go quickly, but let me tell you the things as I read the titles that I knew I wanted to rule out that may help you know what to rule out. One, I'm not doing genetic work. I don't want any of those papers. Two, just because it had both of my titles in the title, or both of my topics in the title, oftentimes you could tell that they weren't looking at the association or the link or the relationship between the two things. They were just looking at both things, right? They used the word "and" a lot. And is not what you want. You really want words in the title that suggest they looked at the association between the things. So "and" doesn't work. Another thing, a lot of it was about smoking risk factors. That wasn't what I was interested in. I said smoke cessation intervention. There were a couple of studies I thought may be linked, but it was really about very heavy smokers, and if I have enough in the experimental smoker group, that is really what I want to focus on. So I'm going to go through and click some more references. Okay, so number 36 was a good one. The role of psychiatric disorders in the relationship between cigarette smoking and nicotine dependence. So this is a good example of how doing a literature review can make you think what other variables you may want to look at, what other variables may be part of this relationship that you may have access to in your data set. So this one does what I want it to do. It looks at the association between smoking and nicotine dependence, and it looks at how psychiatric disorders may explain part of that association. Okay. 40. Adolescent smoking trajectories in nicotine dependence. Trajectories of smoking are just changes or patterns in smoking. So they're looking at the association. That looks like a good one. And then another one on this page would be, that was 3. Okay, so that's it for that page. The next thing I want to do before I move to another page is I found 3 references. I want to download those into the EndNote library. Now, not later. You want to select selected records on this page. That's correct. Don't change that. Author, title, source, plus abstract. That's correct. Don't change that. Now you come over here, and don't go here, save EndNote to EndNote Web. You don't have EndNote Web. You want to go here, save to EndNote, RefMan, or ProCite. That's what you want to click on. That's what I'm going to click on. Now you wait a moment, and then this comes up. It says open with, is this going to work? I think it will. Okay. And look what it did. It opened my EndNote. Isn't that wonderful? Okay. Now I have 3 references in my EndNote library. And you're saying, well, that's not all the information. Well, if you double-click on those, you see everything. So it's got the abstract, it's got the title, it's got everything you need for your citation. You don't need to worry about it anymore. You have it, you've captured it, it's yours. Okay? That is. Oh, and you look, it even has a preview down here. I had the old version. This is even nicer. Okay. Okay, now we're done with that. We're going to hit the back button. And now we're going to go forward. I want to see the next 50 references. And so I have a couple here that are good too. 52, 54, whoops, 52, 54. Those look absolutely perfect. And 71. Okay, and this one looks like it's looking at the association, and it talks about gender. Now I'm getting more information about my topic and more interesting ways I might want to expand my question. The reason I'm sort of focused on this is that, I mean, I do the same thing, and I had to like train myself to do this class because I have some bad habits that I don't want to teach you guys. And my bad habit is, what I do is I find the right paper. I'm so excited. I click find it. I get the paper. And then I go get another paper and another paper and another paper, right? And then at the end of my session, oh, I didn't download anything to EndNote. And then I waste my time. So right after I show you how to download these, then I'll show you how to go back to your checked articles and how to find them. That's a really good question. You have not downloaded your article. You have only downloaded the citation. Okay. So anyway, I picked 3 more from this page, which is the end of this search. And I do the same thing. I'm going to put it in EndNote. Now, there's something important I want to show you here. Look, my 3 came. Well, where did my other 3 go? It overwrote them. It didn't overwrite them. What it does when it downloads it, it wants to show you what it downloaded so that you know you downloaded the right things, right? If you download 10 and it comes up with 5, you know something went wrong. So this helps you know whether you got what you wanted. As your library becomes bigger, it's very difficult if it just sort of threw it into the mix and showed you everything. You know, how would you know whether it did it right or where it put it? So I used to hate this, but now I see the method to their madness. So anyway, you go to References, Show All References, and now I have all 6. Oh, there it is. Oh.
The newest version.
Yes, the tab. Okay. Where is the tab?
You have to, just under your cursor.
Oh. I'm totally blind. It's too much pressure to look at a computer screen. Oh, I see. I'm sorry. I have my cursor on it. All references. I'm blind under that kind of pressure. Okay. So anyway, if you show all references, so I just don't want you to get worried. People always get worried when they use it and it downloaded it and they think it overwrote it and where it, especially when you've spent like time and you have 50 references and then you download 3 and it only shows 3. It's a horrendous feeling. Don't worry about it. Okay, so now I'm doing great. I have 6 references that are absolutely on target with what I'm interested in looking at. It's time to read them. It is not time to go and find a million other things, because this is a procrastination technique that you guys use. I know you. You say, this is easy, and this is kind of fun, and I like to do fun things, and reading articles sounds kind of stressful. So I'm just going to keep looking for articles and looking for articles, looking for articles. You're not allowed to do that. So if you have 6 articles, you got to get in there, get them, and read them. So that would be good. Okay, next thing. Now I'm going to go back and do exactly, what is your first name? Rachel. Exactly what Rachel pointed out. It's lovely to have citations, but let's get the actual article. Anyway, moving forward, you click Find It. Did you see what I just clicked Find It? You guys know how to do that. And then you wait a little while. Okay, great news, full text article. I can read it today, right now, this minute. I'm going to click on Go. I'm going to wait a moment. Now, you can click on, you can print the article because this is the whole article. I am a big fan of PDFs. I really like the way the article looks in the journal. Now, you guys are younger than me, and so you may be just so comfortable with the digital formats that you don't care, but I really like that sort of print, and I don't read it online either. I print it, I sit down with it, I do it the old-fashioned way. So next thing, now I'm going to go back. And actually, I'm going to go back one page because I want to show you what happens when it isn't online, because sometimes it isn't. Anyway, so I'm picking number 11 because I want to find it and start reading it. And oh darn, no full text available. So you guys all know what to do, right? Does everybody know what to do? Click on ILL, my username, my password, and then look, it has all the details of my, isn't this amazing? This is amazing. This has all the details of the article that I want, and I just click Submit Request. Isn't that great? It's great. Anyway, but what I want you to be careful of is this. Clicking on ILL doesn't mean that a robot goes and finds your article. It means that a human being goes and finds your article, and it takes a lot of time. You guys cannot be wasteful. There are a lot of you, and there are not a lot of resources and people over at the library. I would rather you get the really perfect articles. Some of them will actually be ones that you can get right away. Read those, the ones you can get right away, before you make decisions about what you're going to do through ILL. A couple other things I want to mention now. Yeah, maybe now once you get into this, there may be ways you want to limit your search. Okay, because you may actually search something and end up with 500 titles or maybe more. Or you may find there's a lot of old literature, but you don't really want to focus on the old literature. You want to get the newer stuff first before you move back and look at the older stuff. Ways to limit are things like the last 5 years. Now, you may actually be doing a topic that people haven't recently been very interested in, but they maybe were interested in it from, let's say, 1995 to 2001. So it doesn't mean you can't go back further, but you want to get the newest information available on your topic, and so you want to start with the pretty recent stuff. Some other things one good thing here is I would limit by the article. You don't want meeting abstracts, you don't want review articles, you don't want letters, so I would actually click refine, and now my 167 goes down to 122. So I was reading a bunch of things that I didn't want to read because they were abstracts or they just weren't things. You want journal articles, yes?
It actually says on the tablet unless we click how many articles will pop up.
Oh, good. Oh, yeah, it did. Okay, good. And so I suggest you focus in that way as well. I actually
to mention about the review article. If you're trying to do a quick search here and just get a few major things, you can ignore those. But a good recent review article, if you're doing a big thorough search, that can be somebody who's done a lot of the work for you of collecting a bunch of citations. So if you're doing a more extensive thing, review articles can be very helpful.
Yeah. And the review articles are good, again, for the background information, but you don't want to cite them specifically. But for background, that would be a good place to start. Okay, so here we go. Web of Science. This is back to my main search page, right? Here's some other ways here. You can subset to particular years here. Let's say you're doing something that's clearly a very social science topic. You can actually get rid of all these checks and just do the social science. You can do social science and science. With smoking, I would do both because there could be some in the health sciences and in the social sciences, so that would be important. You don't want conference proceedings, so I do suggest that you subset to that, really originally. Somebody have a question? Okay. All right. So what else did I want to say? Okay, so a couple other ideas for limiting your review. The past 5 years, you may want to limit it by age, right? I mean, if I'm interested in smokers, but I really don't want smokers who are 85 and, there are ways, particularly in PsycInfo, to limit by age groups and things like that. Science Citation Index isn't good for more limiting that I just showed you. Species restriction, the type of research methodology. Some of these are easier to do through PsycInfo than they are through Science Citation Index. So if you find that in Science Citation Index you're just finding lots and lots of stuff and there are other ways you think that you want to really narrow down, you might want to move over to PsycInfo. Unless you're doing caterpillars, then I don't think you should. You wouldn't find what you need. And I'm going to have to go back, but I want to show you my slide because it's important. Okay, this is the most important slide today. How do you follow the citation trail? You do not hang out in Science Citation Index for the next 2 weeks. You're going to spend a few hours in Science Citation Index in the next several days. And then you're going to find articles that are really right on target with the kind of thing you think that you're looking at. And you're going to read them. And you know what you're going to find? In their literature reviews, in their introductions, they're going to cite other really perfect, right on the mark kinds of articles. So once you get a few perfect on-target articles from these indexes, now you're going to really utilize the reference sections of the journal articles that you're reading. Okay? And obviously you go in and you search on the whole title, right? You can narrow down to write the specific article that you're interested in getting. So that's the second step. Hanging out in the indexes it just keeps you too off track. Obviously, if somebody's writing a paper exactly on your topic, they're going to reference, if it's a good paper, and it should be, they're going to reference all the right on target papers that have come before you. So that's the next step on your trail. Not to hang out in the indexes forever or to think you need 50 journal articles from the indexes. I would say from the indexes, you want 5 to 10 really on target. Hopefully some you can actually get right now and don't have to wait for interlibrary loan. That would be a good step. And then I think from the 5 to 10 that you get from the indexes, you want to start really finding the absolutely perfect articles and then working those reference sections as well. Okay. The next step is really an important one too. So the next thing you do, sometimes you'll find a perfect article. It's the article. And you find one, right? I mean, in fact, basically in their introduction, they're saying there hasn't been much that's come before. This is basically the first article that's looked at this, and you're going, you've got to be kidding me. I need more literature. Well, maybe that article was published, let's say, in 2002. There could be more literature, but obviously you wouldn't find that in the reference section, right? So you actually have to track forward. And this is kind of, I don't know how long we've been able to do this, but 2 years ago is when I figured out we could. And that is that you can actually search on the title. So let's see here. I'm going to get rid of this. I wish I had my title with me now, but I don't know if that'll find it, but anyway, title. Yes. Okay, good. I found it. So I found the article that I say, this is a great article. It's exactly the question that I'm asking, and I want to track forward. If you come down here, it says the times that it was cited after it was published is 25 times. So I click on 25, and do you know what I find? I find 25 articles that cited that particular paper. Now, some of them won't be appropriate. Just because they cited a paper on the association between smoking and nicotine dependence doesn't mean, in fact, that it's going to be looking at the association between smoking and nicotine dependence. But, boy, I'll tell you, there's a higher probability in this group of 25 than in that group of 167 that you're going to find articles that are appropriate. So that's how you follow the trail. We have 1 semester to do an entire research project. You cannot muck around in the research. You've got to get in, get reading, and get moving. I would say, Christian, I'm ready to commit. If you find 5 to 10 articles on your topic within the indexes, and then you start working the other avenues, which are to trace back through their reference sections and forward, you don't need to go past 25 articles, 20 to 25. Now, some of you won't get that far. Some of you will have 15. But please, don't have 15 because you're lazy. Have 15 because there are only 15 articles that are really, really appropriate to what you're looking at. Now, you are going to have a few misfires where you get an article, you thought it was going to be on what, but it's not what you thought it was or whatever. There are going to be some of those. So what I'm saying is that, 25 articles with 5 misfires where you really don't want that article, but you read it anyway, would get you down to about 20. So that's about the ballpark you want to be in. But the whole point is not to go find a random 20 articles that kind of sort of might have gotten to your topic. It's to find the best 20 articles that absolutely narrow down what you're doing.